Hello, CSFL. Welcome back to another CSFL podcast. And today we're going to be breaking down the draft in a little bit more of a detail since we've gone through sort of the first 4 or 5 rounds now. Obviously, not going to just be me talking on the screen about it for multiple minutes. I'm joined by my sort of co-host now. I think we could probably call you a co-host now. Josh of the Titans GM. It's good to have you back on. Draft's been a bit interesting recently.
Yeah, no, I think the draft's been really great to watch. I think that as we've moved on from season to season, that teams and their kind of draft strategies have definitely kind of come out. And I actually think we've, and we'll talk about it later, I've seen some teams that have come out and really took my attention with how they played the draft, and I'm looking forward to see how their seasons go. So it's been cool.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, one of the things I say every year about the draft, but I do think it's probably the only sim game that I've played where you have a draft that actually does feel like a draft when you are going through it. Outside of probably knowing what you think the top 10 players possibly will be in a draft, everything else is a complete wild card, really. And you never really know what teams are going to take and who they're going to pick and who they're scouting, because there's just so many players and you only have so much scouting available. So yeah, it's great to be back with the draft. And perhaps we'll start. Perhaps we'll just start with the Texans, I think, first, who took the number 1 overall pick. Obviously trading up from number 2 to get Mr. Andrew Luck.
Yep, I thought that was that was the obvious pick. The league would have just been more shook if he hadn't have done that. And I think that looking at his ratings, he's definitely a solid pick. His intelligence is off the charts for a rookie. It's pretty accurate, and he has a pretty strong arm, and not quite as fast as I thought he would be, but definitely a solid player. Like he's got a long career ahead of him, and I have to play him in my division, so that'll be great.
Yeah, no, I mean he looks pretty good off the bat. I mean, just scanning his attributes here. Unfortunately, I can't get the player card up. I've just realised because it goes to another screen. So we'll have to just scan his line here. So yeah, I mean he looks good. 83 arm, 88 intelligence, 85 accuracy, 85 endurance, which is pretty good as well. So it means he's not going to get tired. Yeah, good. I think it was a good decision actually. I was hesitant about the Texans dealing a second round pick to kind of move up that one place, but on paper, obviously he did it before scouting Andrew Luck, but it kind of worked out okay for them.
Yeah, no, I thought this one was kind of a no-brainer because when you look at that team, it's pretty much a quarterback away from being competitive again, and I always support the parity of the league, being better. I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, oh man, I want to just have a uncontested march to the the playoffs every year. I think it's better when we all have come into the season feeling like we have a shot. And I definitely think the Texans, with I don't know what his coaching is like. I know he's in other leagues, so I'm expecting that he's probably going to have a rather veteran playbook. It'll be cool to see what the Texans are like when they're winning 10 games again, like they did a few seasons ago. Already in the AFC, that's already good. So great pick, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. We know the Texans GM is a veteran as well, so probably a bit of competition for you this year, I think.
I don't think there wasn't any. I mean, I won't say there wasn't competition last year because I didn't win it. Congratulations to Noah again. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I mean, we started off with the number 1 pick. I'm pretty interested to see where you want to go. Whether you want to talk about maybe some teams who have had an overall a good or a not so good draft, or whether you want to talk about some steals and different players. I'm happy for you to kind of take it wherever you want to go, Josh. Really, and we'll go from there.
Well, I kind of want to single out some teams because in the last time we had our podcast, there were a few teams where I was kind of like I don't know what they're doing, and I'm very curious. And now that we've moved on a little bit, I think it's fair that we circle back and we kind of just give them a nod. And I think one of those is the Washington Redskins. Like I think that their manipulation of the top of the draft was very top notch, and that the team's loaded, and they can trade one of their four really good quarterbacks for more picks, and not to give advice to a team that's already doing well, but they also are only sitting at 114 mil in cap space with most of their draft complete. So I'm just really kind of impressed with what they've done over there, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they can take a step up in the NFC and really show what they have this year. And Pryor, his speed is off the charts. Like I'm Vince Young is at 87, and I think Pryor already came in at his speed or higher. So he might actually be the quarterback in the league with 90 something speed. That I'm glad he's in the NFC.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the Redskins have had a really good draft so far. I think the decision that they made to pick up Bobby Wagner with that third pick actually threw a lot of the draft in the top order, really, when you look at it. Because I was looking at Bobby Wagner at 8, and I was thinking, I might be able to snag him then. I'd be really happy with that. To me, he looked like he is an excellent linebacker. We can see by the ratings here. So that kind of threw the draft up, and obviously to get back in and grab Pryor as well. A lot of people were kind of questioning that at the time, I think, and wondering, well, what they seen with Pryor. I didn't scout Pryor. I don't know if you did, but I never expected him to be around at 8. So
I won't even waste my time with the top 10 this year.
No. So and they've picked him up, and it's probably worth just pointing out that even that's the first round, but even in some of the later rounds, they picked up Akeem Ayers, who's a solid linebacker. Darren Mayo, who looks like an okay defensive edge. He's probably a little bit undersized, and that's why he dropped so far, in my opinion. But he looks like he probably could go to linebacker and be solid there.
Yeah, I think that's the position that he played in real life. So that might have just, might have just been an error, or maybe just the ratings worked out that way. Because I looked him up immediately because I was like, man, he is really, really small. He might die at that position.
Yeah, I expect him to go to linebacker, but that's a 3 linebacker core that's actually pretty good, and they're all rookies. And you add that to what the Redskins already have. If I go to their other players, they're not in a bad position, really.
No.
They've got solid cover. In terms of they've got the running back that you probably need. They're wide receivers. They've got a couple of guys there who can be serviceable. They haven't got really a number 1 option, but as you said, though, they've got cap room as well. So, they might be able to get something done there as well.
Yep. No, like I said, I was just, really impressed with the draft. And I thought that was worth pointing out that, they, obviously came in with a plan and executed it. So, good for the Washington football team. So
yeah. We shouldn't call them we just call them Washington now.
No, I don't know why. I guess I had a slip of the mind, because I do consciously in my regular life try not to say that anymore. So
I'm looking forward to when we actually get whatever the new logo is, or the new name after. I'm guessing after the next NFL season, I think was what they were looking at. But we'll obviously put that in when they get it. Maybe we'll see if we can find.
They're thinking about Warriors or Red Tails.
Okay. So. Yeah, I really liked I think it was the Washington Wolverines was the one that I liked, but that's because I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan. So,
you're a little biased on that one.
A little bit, yeah. I really like the logo. No, okay, cool. So the Washington Redskins, absolutely, and it's great to see a GM who was a rookie when he joined the league, I believe, in Kurt, and it's taken him a little bit of time to get used to the game and everything, and it shows that once you get a little bit of understanding and you get a bit of a feel for how some of the scouting works, for example, in the draft, you can make some really quick gains, which he certainly has done this year.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think that as I talk, with Rouse, every once in a while through DMs, and one of the things he keeps saying is, we got to get our titles in quick before the entire league, catches up, and it's, just 30 GMs who could beat you any given Sunday. Right now we are still just a tad bit top heavy. So
yeah. I will say though, actually, before we go on to perhaps the next team or the next pick that you want to talk about, Josh, is that one of the things that a lot of the veteran GMs have said to me and reached out to me is if there are any rookie GMs who don't have a feel for things like a playbook or strategy or scouting or free agency or pretty much anything, please reach out to one of the admins, because we've got guys who are happy to just try and buddy people and show them the ropes. I mean, I think you spoke to Rouse early on when you started about defensive schemes. I know Dennis, the Ravens GM, has done the same. You know, I mean, we've one of the things I said was we've got an idea of how we do scouting, and we're happy to share that with other GMs and our logic of how we scout players in this game.
And I'll just, you know, occasionally when they come up, you know, occasionally someone will just say, "Oh, you know, I wish I knew how to do this," and I'll if I'm in the chat, I'll just, if I do know how to do it, I'll just drop it right there, because
exactly. So
it is what it is, and you know, hopefully everyone figures it out eventually. But you know, if I know something that you don't, I don't feel like, you know, it's not fair to at least explain it. I'm not going to tell you, you know, why I personally choose to use, you know, these plays, but I'll tell you how the plays work and why they might be good for you.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, I think we all just want a league that is fairly competitive, rather than, you know, 2 or 3 teams at the complete top destroying everyone else. That's not what we want. We want a community of people who actually are interested in the game to help move the game forward for one point.
Well, no,
at the same time, have a competitive environment to try and compete against some of the human GMs who understand and have a feel for what they're doing.
No, to be clear, I would love to be the first, you know, back-to-back Super Bowl winner. So, but I would like to, you know, have to march through some really good teams to do it. So there you go.
I think I would feel more pride in beating a series of teams that are really challenging than winning. I haven't won a Super Bowl, but winning like 7 Super Bowls, for example. I've still got to win one, but okay, cool. So we move on to maybe the next team or next pick that you've got on your list that's interesting to raise.
Well, after that, after kind of that, for me, I kind of was just looking at various steals that kind of popped up around the draft, and like various, you know, funny moments. And, you know, after talking about the Redskins for a while, and, you know, kind of want to go with a moment of levity. I think that so far the biggest leap of the draft goes to the good old Cleveland Browns, choosing, you know, the man of the hour, Cody Fleener, with their pick, and promptly putting him on blast and trading him out of town immediately.
Who subsequently didn't even. It's one of those wonderful draft day things I can imagine, where the player has turned, you know, been drafted, he's holding the jersey like they do, and then all of a sudden he's been traded immediately because they've realized they've just completely messed up.
I was actually laughing about that. I was imagining that the Browns draft him. I was like, someone got fired. Someone lost their job.
Yeah. It's one of those. I can imagine that if they drafted Kobe Fleener, and then he walks up to the podium, and you can imagine the conversation in the Browns draft room going, "Who's that guy going up and picking up our jersey? That's not who we were drafting."
It's like the owner calls the GM, and he's like, "You took an inline blocking tight end in what round? In what round? Just pack your bags. Just, you know, there'll be boxes coming to your office. You're done."
I'm sorry, Browns. It was amusing because obviously you found it amusing as well when you saw the selection and saw the ratings and.
You know, and I definitely feel like it was fair to be tongue in cheek with that one, because I've never seen a GM turn around and trade a guy just within seconds of taking him.
Oh dear.
Oh, okay. Well, after that, man, Marcel Darius, like, you know, the best player by far in the draft. You know, like the guy who quite literally looks like he might, you know, challenge this, you know, Glenn Dorsey for the sack title. You know, that might not, you know, be a distant what's the word I'm searching for here? Like, it might not be impossible. I think that could happen because his ratings were about as high as we all thought they were going to be.
Yeah. I mean, 87 strength, 61 agility, 71 speed, and the intelligence is pretty good at 65. So.
It's like something that big, that fat, that moves that fast is going to wreck teams.
Yeah, 6'3", 331 pounds. That guy is probably as good as JJ Watt, I think, when he entered the league in the first draft, if I'm honest. So I think the Patriots, we talked about the Texans doing very well with the move, but I think the Patriots equally did very well with the move because it kind of suited both teams.
Yeah, and no, I mean, and I can't remember who their other. Yeah, they still have Wilfork, so they basically have Vince Wilfork and Darius. Good luck moving either one of them. Like they're both over 300 and like both of them are damn near 350 pounds. So excuse me, if you're playing this in your car and any kids happen to hear, I apologize, but that's
a lot of meat to try and move on a line. That's all I'm saying. That's I'm excited to see how he does actually, and I'm going to be looking at him through the season and compare, if especially he moves to defensive end, and comparing him to Mr. Watt, and just seeing really how they do stats wise. That could be a really interesting competition there.
Well, I was thinking about it. I have a guy that I drafted that's even bigger than him, Jasper, who's 375 pounds, and he's only about I'm going to say maybe 76 strength, and I love that kid. He I know Rouse doesn't really care much about the DT position, but he plays really well for me. And I was just thinking, I'm like, what if he got 6 more sacks and 10 more tackles a season? Like, dear Lord, I might have won another Super Bowl. I might have won another Super Bowl, and that's what Darius, is for the Patriots. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun to play against. So.
Yeah. And then another wonderful pickup for someone in your conference. So I'm happy for that as well.
Yeah, the AFC is a bloodbath, and that actually makes me think of another player that was drafted. I think we talked about him right before we got off. Right before we got on and started recording, I believe is the wide receiver Salas. I think we both agreed that he was, quite the pick. Neither one of us really kind of saw that one coming, and he was much better than we thought.
He definitely went under the radar, is what I would say. And I think to be fair, actually, I think it's quite fair to say a lot of wide receivers went under the radar this year. I remember a lot of the GMs saying, "Oh, the wide receiver core is poor again this year, and there's no one there." But I mean, we talk about Salas in a sec, but obviously the Raiders picked up Hogan as well, who I thought was a pretty good pickup as well late on in the draft.
It's kind of like I kind of had a similar thought when I was looking at the running backs this year, that the two skill positions that seem to have just a dearth of 90 rated players are the running back position and the wide receiver position. They have just a ton of high 80s, high 90s players. So these rookies coming in probably do get 3rd round grades, 4th round grades because they're being compared to them. So this year, I kind of thought about that with the running back position and was able to get, a really good running back that was projected 3rd round, but in my opinion, probably really, in most drafts, if you really need a running back, probably should have been taken around when I took him at the top of the 2nd, like low end of the 1st. And it's kind of the same thing with the wide receiver position. Salas probably should have been a low end 1st round, high end 2nd round pick.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at him, I mean, he's bear in mind there's development growth as well in these rookies that we'll probably see. But 81 speed, 81 hands, 61 intelligence, 79 agility. I mean, the guy can pretty much play any slot wide receiver.
He's already got the endurance to be a starter too.
Yeah, and I really love that he's actually got some pass blocking as well.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to say it's just interesting because I just wonder what type of scheme you could run to utilize some of that against another wide receiver. I honestly have no idea. But 80 endurance as well. So.
Well, I was going to say, I have been racking my mind to figure out what type of player makes special teams better because some teams, when you look at the media guide, it says they're rated like a 3 or 2 at special teams, and other teams that are really good are rated like 23rd or 24th, and I'm like, what goes into that? So I've been kind of looking at that with players that I've been drafting like in the later rounds, this last draft, and I'm kind of thinking about it again this draft. Like, I'm looking for those random, guys who have, really high tackle, but they'll probably never be a starter for me. Like, will you actually make my special teams better?
Yeah.
No, and I tried that last year when I drafted a bunch of 6'5", 6'6" players that I was like, maybe that'll help, and it did help with my kick blocking. I think we led the league in blocked kicks, and it was actually all of my really tall players. So I think that I kind of have figured that out just a bit. So anyone listening, like, there's a reason why you see guys going for the bigger, taller players. Like, the creators of the game said it does affect the game, and there is a little bit of anecdotal evidence to show that it does. So get those guys, but still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's one thing I was still trying to wrap my brain around. Really, is it's the kick returners and the punt returners.
Yeah.
I haven't quite worked out how to utilize them the best. We did try and pick up a guy. I can't remember his name in free agency now, but I think he went back. I think he was at the Bears and he's gone back because I think he had some really high speed and that was it. He was just a speed wide receiver. And I was thinking that might be an option, but anyway, coming back to Salas, I think that was a really good pickup. And I think the Packers have actually picked up 3 decent players as well. I mean, Jimmy Smith, a solid cornerback, which they needed after losing. I can't remember his name now.
Woodson.
That's it. Yeah, Woodson. And picked up Alan Bailey at a end position as well. So I mean, three good pickups so far.
Yeah, Alan Bailey was definitely a guy I was looking at. I didn't really have a ton of hope that he would drop, and I was considering him, but I decided strong safety was much more important for me just because of some of the jiggering around I wanted to do. But I thought that was a great pickup. I'd really like those high intangible players. And Jimmy Smith, man, like just he's again like coming in day one starter, like just a really strong player. He's not like super strong, so I don't think he'll get you a lot of like fumbles or anything like that, but he's pretty solid with the speed, so he'll cover a guy and he'll grow into the rest of it.
Yeah, I think so. So Packers did pretty well. I've got
Richardson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Packers have, from my understanding, is a pretty experienced GM, so he knows what he's doing. So he normally does pretty well when it comes to sort of drafting and free agency. So that's always not very helpful being in my division, but it's nice to have some nice competition. So I'm not gonna throw that one under the bus too much. I'm just trying to find the guy I thought was a really good pickup as well. If I can dig him out.
Yeah, I was about to defer to you because I'm pretty tapped on a few of the standouts for me. It's been interesting this draft not having a ton of picks. I traded for a lot of guys for that Super Bowl run, so I've kind of been a spectator for a little bit of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's one guy that I'm interested to see how he does. Primarily because we were looking at him, but we went just before us at 214, which is Carl Klug from the Eagles. Let me see if I can.
Oh, yeah, another guy. I actually one of my a player I actually was really fond of in real life. I was kind of hoping he would drop just so I could kind of have him on the team. That's one of the fun aspects for me. Where did he go? I don't remember. The Eagles?
Yeah, so he went to the Eagles. I'm just gonna pull up his stats in a sec. So I was interested to see how he did because I was quite interested in him because his strength was fairly solid in the scouting report. Yeah, so he's 82 strength. Obviously not good agility or speed or anything, but he's just a lump on the line pretty much.
That sounds pretty realistic actually. He was just a strong dude who got a lot of sacks. So
yeah, I was interested because I thought he'd be quite an ideal person for us to put in where we needed a hole at defensive tackle. So I'll be interested to see how the Eagles use him, and obviously he is instantly their best, one of their best defensive tackles, I believe, as well. He's their only defensive tackle at the moment, so they've got some holes to fill. But I'll be interested to see how he does. That was an interesting pickup in my opinion, just because we were looking at him as well. So
I'm really looking forward to see what happens over training camp this year. Which teams are going to have some players boom, because I think that again, like with all of these drafts, and we can't see the potential of some of these players. That that's one of the hitting ratings. There might be some teams that make a leap because a rookie just might be that good. So, and I'm excited, really excited for the season to start. I don't want this next free agency to kind of be over.
No. I mean, I guess the interesting thing is that the next free agency is probably going to be a mash dash and panic for people to fill positions or clear cap or whatever it is they've got to do. We've still got a couple of rounds of the draft left, so we'll see what what happens and what materializes there. But yeah, no, it's been an interesting draft so far. And I think when we could look all day in terms of guys who we think are good pickups. I think there were quite a fair few good value ones late on. You know, we talked about Chris Hogan. I thought that was a nice pickup from the Raiders. If we go to that one quickly.
Yeah, but I don't really think anyone's having a bad draft. I wouldn't throw it out there. No one's had like consecutive 60 rated players or anything like that. So I think everyone's, for the most part, able to get something to make their team better so far. And yeah, Hogan was another one. He had really good hands and really good agility. And I personally think that once you get over 75 in speed, you're useful in this league.
Yeah.
With the dearth of, with the influx of these really fast cornerbacks, that might be changing pretty soon. You might need to be at 80 or so to survive.
Yeah, possibly. I guess, interesting. I mean, I thought that was a nice pickup because, again, it's late on and the Raiders are a new GM, so you still kind of learn the ropes. And I thought that was a nice one. They've obviously got a lot of cap room to play with as well going into free agency. So there's been some interesting moves in terms of the draft. I guess obviously we can't really comment on the players left. But yeah, no, it's been I'm not even looking at the right draft here. It's been an interesting one. I think we'll see. I mean, I guess in terms of teams that I think have done okay so far this offseason, I've probably got 3 in my mind that I'm interested to see how they do really coming into next season. My first one is the Seattle Seahawks, a team that coming out of the regular season last year, I think won, was it 5 or 6 back to back, and basically got to 0.50 from a position where they were pretty much 0-6, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I believe they going into the end of the season, they were 1 game away from the playoffs, if I remember.
Yeah. And the GM, I think, is an experienced GM. I think he does know what he's doing, which is helpful. But look at the draft; they've managed to pick up some really nice players here, all in positions where they kind of needed someone as well. So they've kind of sorted out the tackle position where they had some gaps. They sorted out a center position. I think the only thing is that they do need to try and find themselves a quarterback. Unless they're really going to stay with Enderley going forward. But I mean, there's free agency options for them there. I
would say a quarterback, a wide receiver, and probably another tight end.
Yeah, probably. So I'm interested to see how they do. We've talked about the Redskins, and the other one that's on my list that I think is going to be an interesting one to kind of follow along. Is going to be, where are they? It's going to be the Colts. So they obviously this is probably the last year of Peyton Manning under contract. So they obviously, there's no guarantees that he'll come back in next off season. But last season. But when you look at they picked up 1 draftee, which was a high pick, which was in a position again they needed someone. But their actual free agency has been awesome so far. I think they've managed to pick up some really good free agents, if I remember.
I agree. Their free agency was very impressive. I was talking to him in DMs as well, and I told him that they're probably going to be dropping 25, 30 on people a night.
Yeah. I mean, they've picked up Harvin, they picked up Cushing, they picked up Cherilus, all players who are impactful. And in the draft, obviously, they only made 1 pick so far, but they obviously picked up someone who is an immediate help for them on defensive end. So I think they're going to be a really interesting team, not just for playoffs, but if they fill some of the additional gaps they've got on the defensive front for the rest of the offseason, they could be a bit of a dark horse next year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. McPhee might actually be the very best player on their defense now. So that obviously that's a great pick. He's already better than. Yeah, I'm looking at him now. He's already better than Brian Cushing. Yeah, he is the best player on their defense. He's better than Dawson as well. So that was a fantastic pick. Well, I can't remember. Was he a top 5 or a top 10?
I think he went. Let me double check. I think he went 4th. Went 4th overall. So he was a top 5 pick. They managed to jump up in the draft in the lottery. So that certainly helped them out in this one. But yeah, they're my three teams that I'd say to watch at this stage. It might change by the end of the off season, but they're the three ones I'm kind of keeping an eye on at the moment.
Awesome. I might
Yeah.
have, man, my entire division is just going to beat itself apart.
Yeah, it's it's good. The teams and the interesting thing is that the teams that I'm sort of picking out are teams that we're sort of struggling last year, and I think we are going to have a more competitive league this year.
Yeah, no, I think that's. Go ahead.
I was just saying, just in terms of win losses, I think it's going to be a lot tighter this year in some of these divisions now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been the theme of the off season is the rise of the lower tier teams from the previous, all of them, which I think is one of the great ways about the way the NFL does their off season, contrary to the NBA, which I think is just an overall better league. But I love the idea of having your free agency and then using your draft to plug the holes left from free agency, and then having free agency again. I just think that's works much better from a team building standpoint. I mean, they have to do that by necessity, having such huge rosters, but still, I just think that, if I was building a team, I'd want to use the draft to plug the holes I have left. Like that. That's just my way of team building. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And there's still three rounds or so left to go in the draft, so plenty of gaps are going to be filled by some of these teams. But who knows? There may be some additional steals or good pickups coming. I'm sure there will be. There always is in around the fifth round and things. If you remember, trying to think of the Pat Devlin, I think went fifth in the fifth round, didn't he? If I remember.
Yeah, I think Devlin went later than that.
Did he?
I want to say. I don't think I can see it from the HTML. I had to log into the game, but I do believe.
I will get that information.
Yeah, Devlin's contract, his rookie contract, he's still on, is $530,000. I think he might have gone 6.
He went 7th, 25th overall. So he went even later than I thought he did. So there's always players around that will be interesting to pick up with, and I'm excited to see how the remaining couple of rounds of the draft go before we get to free agency.
I agree, and I'm looking forward to especially the later rounds, because we've always I've traditionally in the league I've noticed that we've always had at least one like really high rated player make it into the 6th and the 7th round. So I'm kind of curious as to who those players would be this time.
Yeah. Great. Well, it's been good to have you on, Josh. We'll certainly be back probably before the start of the regular season, maybe to do a bit of a preview. But we'll see how the draft goes, see how free agency goes, and how some of the preseason matchups look as well.
All right, man. Well, good luck on the rest of your draft, and see you on the other side, I guess.